Hey everybody, it's Hall of Famer Devon Dudley here, 24-time World Tag Team Champions. Now I've been up and down the highways creating history and all of that. But this podcast that I'm about to talk about, they're creating history. And I think you should be able to not only watch it, follow it, subscribe it, but tell other people about it. It's called Smart Tank Revolutions. Again, Smart Tank Revolutions. Check it out, because if you don't, I'll put your ass through a table. Now testify.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Smart Tank Revolution, where we always kick out at 2. I am your solo host today, Joey. I'm starting a new venture for business. And I'm going to start a new thing that even Donnie doesn't know what it is. But congrats, Donnie. Here we are. It's called Power Playback. And my first edition of Power Playback is a wrestling event that I have never seen. Yes, me, one of the best wrestling cinephile, wrestling historians of all time, does have some gaps in his knowledge. And I admittedly admit this one that I have never seen In Your House 1. And I decided that if I'm going to do Power Playback, well, I'm not going to play back everything because that just takes too long. And quite frankly, it's not worth or fair for my time to be spent that way. But you all deserve a historian. You all deserve a story. So I'm going to give you one. And I am going to do it with one of my most contentious subject matters in the history of wrestling. One, the only, the self-proclaimed excellence of execution, Mr. Bret Hart. Well, I've never seen this match, and it was Bret Hart versus Hakushi, who, quite frankly, and again, another gap I am not quite familiar with. But I just watched this match in its entirety for the first time ever, through fresh eyes in 2025. And I will say this, bravo. I see why people are such big, staunch supporters of Bret the Hitman Hart. I see why people gravitate to him. I get it. I understand the magnetism of it. But for me, he's great, but it just doesn't connect on that level. To me, there are so many performers higher on the echelon than Bret the Hitman Hart. Not to say Bret's bad, just for me, he doesn't connect in that vein. However, there are things that I saw here that I wish I was watching on Monday, Wednesday, or even Friday nights currently. Bret Hart delivered one of the weakest promos that I have ever heard with my own 2 ears on Mother's Day about his wife, about his mother. I believe her name is Ellen Hart. And it ended something in the vein that, my mother is going to watch me tear you apart. And God, that is more cringe than a box full of cats. I just thought, that's the disconnect with me. I'm a boisterous, loud, voicing personality. I connect to other boisterous, loud, voicing personalities. Colorful language is a must in my world. I like when people can paint pictures with words. However, this was paint by numbers. But however, for Bret Hart, paint by numbers is not a bad thing. Bret Hart, paint by numbers, is Rembrandt to anybody else. Let it not be twisted with my words. Bret Hart is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, in-ring technician of all time. I was going to say tactician, I then rethought it, but whatever, let's just go with it. He's unbelievable. Everything he does looks like it hurts. Everything he does looks like it has purpose. Everything he does is so smooth. It's convincing. It's just a shame that his mouth doesn't connect to where his muscles do. He is so good on one aspect, but so behind on the other. Now, I get it. There are Bret Hart purists that will just say, hey, Bret Hart is the greatest of all time, blah, blah, blah. Well, for me, blah, blah, blah does not work unless the blah, blah is filled with a lot of substance. But I've never seen Hakushi before. Or if I have, it's a gap in my memory that I have blotted out. I will say this. Obviously, it reminded me of Lord Tensai when Prince Albert came back in 2013 to the WWE. This is the WWF. It's In Your House 1. And this is the match I have chosen to highlight. I'm going to choose one match from every single pay-per-view in chronological order from this point on. And this was the match I chose because it had a choice between, Psycho Sid and Diesel and all that stuff. But let's face it, as much as I like Kevin Nash, as much as I like Sid Vicious, they were never on the level of Bret Hart. And this shows. This was able to grip me and keep me and just lock me. This is what AEW strives to be, and this is what I see in a lot of AEW programming. It's the sizzle without the steak, and that's not always the worst meal, but what I'm saying is Bret Hart is so good at one half of keeping me enthralled and then so terrible at the other that it's almost hard to convey that or understand that they're the same person at times. How can you be so terrible at a promo but so incredibly talented and gifted in the ring? Well, it is professional wrestling, not professional talking. It's not a Toastmasters club. It's not a speech writing class. It's wrestling. And when it does come to wrestling, Bret Hart is head and shoulders above just about anyone who's ever existed. I will give him that. This match made me care so much. I will also say that I've gone on record before, but I will go on record again now, that Bret Hart throws one of the most convincing closed fists I've ever seen. Maybe second to only Scott Hall or Razor Ramon, whatever incarnation you choose. They have that gift. Like I said, everything Bret does looks like it hurts, but you know it doesn't. Everything he does has purpose. Everything you know is so professionally textbook and so professionally poised and smooth and executed that it's hard to deny him. And this match was great. And it ended with, I missed the days when a matchup could end with a victory roll. Something that wasn't so telegraphed, something that wasn't an RKO, wasn't an FU or an AA or a crossroads or a Superman punch or a go to sleep or a haluva kick. I just miss when it was something that was so out of nowhere. Yes, an RKO is out of nowhere, but it's telegraphed that once you hit it, it's go home, folks. This is when wrestling was wrestling, where the lines were still blurred enough, not promo-wise, but in ring where you could say, I think that's real. But I've got to say, we're going to give this a 3 count on the STR ranking, because Bret took a guy that I've never heard about, or at least didn't remember, and made me care throughout the whole match, even though I didn't think the finish was ever in question. But he made me care. And that is something to be commended. So I'm very happy to open up Power Playback with something that will no doubt tickle Mr. Wonderful's funny bones, is a retrospective on Hakushi versus Bret Hart. Well done, Bret. Now let's see if you can you have my attention. No, you have my curiosity. Let's see if you can keep my attention the next time.